DNA is the most degraded. Like, what does that tell you? It's like, and you're telling me, oh, it's overwhelming that he's guilty. Isn't it obvious? You're stupid. You're evil. You're an imbecile for ever thinking that it was different. And I'm just like, bro, shut your ass up. Shut y'all dumbasses up. But all right, let's get into Candace.
All right, you guys, I am finally back. I am so happy to be back. Things tend to get a little crazy when I go away. I have to tell you, when I jumped online and I saw all of the X trends, I wasn't exactly certain whether last week represented the preliminary trial of Tyler Robinson or Candace Owens. I mean, is everybody okay? Why do I seem to have this sort of an effect on middle-aged men? Did you see this? This is real. Those are my former employers, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies, can I just say that if your husband is striking poses in the mirror to look like Candace Owens, you have got to get him off of the internet. Anyway, can I just begin by saying the quiet part out loud? Please forgive me. I have to say it. Regarding the
believe it or not, sis, I agree with you there. I agree with you on that one.
Preliminary hearing.
Believe it or not.
If you find yourself having to invite literal social media influencers into a courthouse, Erica, as in the actual job description of these human beings is to influence the masses about products or ideas. If you feel compelled to invite Benny Johnson, Department of War consultant Graham Allen, Brandon Tatum, people who you, for whatever reason, I'm not judging, did not choose to invite to Charlie's private funeral mass, but extended an invitation for them to come to the courthouse, the public may rightfully have some questions about your intent. Like right off the bat, that's an interesting move, Erica, right? Benny Johnson came right out of the gate and said, Erica asked me to be here. Okay, really? Why?
One of the biggest, social media figures in the conservative movement and the Republican Party, and you asked Benny Johnson to be here. Yeah, I know, because she knows going to get her. She knows it was going to get her those eyes. Not saying, it's like, I mean, hey, doesn't mean she killed her husband, though. I'm not going to jump off the cliff with that one. Like I said, I don't know. I just know that I'm not believing the original story.
Committing the murder.
That's all I'm saying. I just don't believe it. It just seems impossible that a 30-6 hit Charlie Kirk without decapitating him.
We're outside of the 4th District Courthouse here in Utah. The Charlie Kirk preliminary murder trial just wrapped. We were there and witnessed everything. And you have to hear this because it was devastating what we watched. And the judge ruled that you can't see the high definition quality video 4K of Tyler Robinson committing the murder of Charlie Kirk. But we saw it and they played it on giant screens inside of the courthouse. You can see clearly Tyler Robinson's face. You can see crystal clear the license plate number on his vehicle, his movements on the rooftop. You can time it up to when Charlie Kirk was murdered. And what you also couldn't see was what happened inside of the courthouse. Erica Kirk was sobbing in the arms of her mother-in-law, Charlie's mother, Mrs. Kirk. Feet away is Tyler.
And guys, it's crystal clear footage. Bro, that mug is pixelated as hell. Crystal clear, bro. Are you sure that's just not what you wanted to see, bro? It's kind of something you went in there a bit delusional.
Why did Erica Kirk request your presence there? I would have asked my cousins, my close friends, people I went to high school with, some aunts and uncles that don't annoy me to be there, but influencers, I don't think so. It's giving, I'm finally going to wear black, but I'm going to invite the glittery pantsuit. You know what I mean? It still feels like a show. And you guys, I have to tell you, I'm getting old. I really am. And one thing that I have learned in my ripe old age is that the truth never requires a marketing campaign. There's just never a budget line item for truth. Of course, the single craziest piece of news over the last week, and plausibly since the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that Ben Shapiro, who just makes everyone's skin crawl in a unique way, has offered up an unusual confession that as Charlie Kirk, his enemy, lay dying and bleeding in the backseat of the car en route to the hospital, an approximate 7-minute ride, someone in Charlie's car was providing Ben's security with updates over the phone while Charlie was in the car. That's massive. I gotta say, for those of us who believe that there is mounting evidence that Israel put a hit on Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro receiving updates while Charlie was dying is not going to go a long way in terms of clearing up any conspiracies. So welcome back to Candace.
Yeah, I never do. All right. Oh, guys, if you have any question, comment, jokes, or disagreements, feel free to super chat it in or Venmo. Appreciate the support, guys. Let's go ahead and get right back into it.
Obviously, not enough time in the day. We have so much to unpack this week. But you know what? Let's begin with a basic definition, class. What does it mean to be overwhelmed? Like, actually, let's just start with the root word, whelm. The verb to whelm. Let's just pull a definition of that. To whelm is a verb meaning to submerge, to engulf, or to completely cover something, often with a disastrous effect. It can also mean to overpower or to overcome someone in thought or in feeling. So right now, there is a seemingly infinite number of influencers on social media who watched the Tyler Robinson preliminary hearing last week, and they reported back to us common folk that they came away from it and they were effectively drowning. They were submerged. They were engulfed. They were completely buried by the avalanche of undeniable evidence that Tyler Robinson murdered Charlie Kirk. I mean, they were so consumed that they all just began using that exact same adjective to express themselves. It is overwhelming. In fact, that has really been the key word since last year, right? It is the new wear a mask, save lives, 6 feet social distancing. The evidence against Tyler Robinson is overwhelming. Check out this little collage you put together of influencers who apparently need to pop a Xanax, right? The evidence is becoming overwhelming against Tyler Robinson.
And this is what kills me about all the MAGA influencers. It's literally like, dog, they all say the same thing. Like their message is all the same. And it's just like, all right, bro, tell me you paid without telling me you getting paid, bro. That's all I got to say. You're not about to sit here and gaslight me and say, oh, no, this is just honest reporting. We're all just reporting the same thing just conveniently and damn near going word for word. It's like, huh. All right, man. I mean, shoot, don't tell me Operation Project Mockingbird ever stopped. Don't ever tell me that stopped, because the way these MAGA influencers are acting right now, insane. You also can see the same thing from the left, but, you know, ever since Trump been on his bullshit, bro, these guys have been in defense of this man overwhelmingly, and they all say the same thing when it comes to Tyler Robinson. They all say the same thing. They don't, like, not one of them just strays and be like, oh, no, guys, could it not be him? You know, or they'll be called evil, the devil, nobody loves them just because they just question the results.
And thanks, Graham. Steve Deese, the podcast, today's podcast, an overwhelming evidence against Tyler Robinson. Paramount, not so tactical. The evidence against Tyler Robinson is overwhelming. Gunther Eagleman, the evidence is overwhelming, to say the least. Kind of feels like he's saying the most. Jack is quoting Don Trump Jr. As having said, the evidence against Tyler Robinson is overwhelming. That's just one page. Allie Beth Stuckey, Mike Lee, the evidence against Tyler Robinson could not be more overwhelming. He couldn't be more submerged. Andrew Colbert, it's overwhelming against Robinson. Whoever Bren is, it's overwhelming. Susie, it's overwhelming. Clay Travis, it seems overwhelming. Some people even went so far as to report that it was actually the most overwhelming thing that they have ever witnessed in their entire lives in the courtroom. Take it away, Josh Hammer, who happens to look like a Bond villain. Take a listen.
So to reiterate and to summarize what we've already said, the evidence presented this week just during the pre-trial evidentiary hearings in the Charlie Kirk assassin trial, the trial of Tyler Robinson, is the most overwhelming presentation that I have ever seen this early on during a legal proceeding in my entire life. Life.
Whoa. Like his whole life. This is it. This is that moment. So I was in Spain and I said, let me buckle in. I too wish to experience that tidal wave of the.
No, me too, though. It's like, bro, I literally have to sit down for like damn near 9 hours. Well, more than that, just to sit there and see what they were looking at. And I was like, bro, what overwhelming? If anything, I got more questions, and I'm just like, yo, like, what the hell is going on? I thought you had more conclusive evidence. But I'm being told, oh, it's overwhelming. And this is the only reason why I'm playing this video, is because I was told it was also overwhelming before I watched this video from Candace. And then I'm over here like looking at the trial. I'm like, bro, what's so overwhelming? I'm like, bro, we got heavily pixelated videos. Bro, like we say we got the man's car, but nobody, but bro, if you actually looked at the trial, one of the investigators pretty much forgot to admit that Tyler Robinson was riding with like 2 to 3 other people, and there was a bald guy driving the car. I mean, if that don't throw a wrench in the narrative, I don't know what will.
Exact same emotion being shared by all of these people. Apparently, though, me and Carrie Prejean Bowler, who I was traveling with, we watched an entirely different hearing. I don't know if it's different in Spain. I had wondered,
all right, that's funny.
Is it different if you don't have the eyes of Zionists? Because I did notice a little corollary, right? Amongst Zionists, there is an increased sense of...
guys, you've got any question, comments, jokes, or disagreements for me? I'll be happy to read it out loud and engage with it. Just send in a super chat or Venmo, guys. Appreciate the support. Now let's go ahead and get right back into it. Don't forget to double tap that screen, like the video.
The whelming happening when it comes to Tyler Robinson. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, right? Let's begin with a refresher on what exactly the Fed narrative was going into this hearing. Like, you have to remember the stuff that they say, because they very quickly move on from these things. Okay, foremost, we were told over and over again that Tyler Robinson was turned in by his own family and that he confessed to the crime at various points. We were told his mother recognized him on the news. His father turned him in and they both made official police statements against their son. In fact, Bill Ackman, king of the Hamptons, immediately pledged $1 million to Tyler Robinson's father, Matt Robinson. Someone should check in on that $1 million, by the way. He pledged that for the brave act of Matt Robinson having turned in his son.
Hold on. So Tyler Robinson dad turned in his son and somebody gave him $1 million? Like, hold on now. I mean, you look, that's a bit strange. I'm not gonna lie, that is kind of strange. Now, if you wanted me to put on the tinfoil hat here, this is where this millionaire was told by the CIA to pay this dad off to go ahead and set his son up as a patsy. They say, look, you're gonna sit there, you're gonna say it's your son, we're gonna give you $1 million, you're gonna go all the way through with it until your son goes to jail or until he gets proven not guilty and the real killer is already out the country. All right, I'm just playing, guys. Okay, don't take that serious.
Anyways, here's a clip of people telling us that that's what happened, and we were going to find that out.
I was having a discussion about how just as a father, how incredible it was to see, and just almost unbelievable it was to see Tyler Robinson's parents play a role in turning over their son.
Tyler Robinson and the video and footage of him were identified also by his parents as being Tyler Robinson.
Tyler Robinson's parents see that photo and think, that looks like Tyler. They begin asking him things like, where is I believe it was his grandfather's gun. They start asking him this. Tyler Robinson starts talking like he might kill himself. They get a friend of the family to sit down with him. He admits that it's him. They get him to drive up to Orem and turn himself in. His parents helped him turn him in.
They say no face, no case. No, his parents said, that's my son. And then he turned himself in, taking responsibility for shooting Charlie Kirk.
So we have 3 confessions here, one to his parents, one to his roommate, and one on Discord. Those local sheriffs were the ones who took the first statements from Robinson's parents, which identified Robinson as the shooter and provided the motive.
By the way, Allie, do you think that the parents of Tyler Robinson, if he was not guilty, would be making a stink about this if he was innocent? Have you heard a word from the parents? No, the parents were the ones that turned him in.
Turned him in, made statements against their son. Okay. The Fed narrative also stipulated that this was the left, right? We were supposed to instantly go to war over this. The right versus the left. It was a politically motivated killing. Tyler Robinson murdered Charlie Kirk. First crime he's ever committed. Decided to do that in broad daylight, in a burning rage over LGBTQ rights, particularly trans rights, because he has a trans furry boyfriend named Lance Twiggs. Some hate just can't be negotiated. He wrote via text, like, this is why I did it. Charlie Kirk, I took my shot because I can't stand to hear the hatred.
Did any of you guys actually see Lance Twigg in his, when pretty much giving his testimony and all that? I'm gonna be real with you. For a trans furry, he sounded a little bit too, I don't know. I'm just be real with you, bro. Sounded like a straight dude. So I ain't gonna lie, he did not sound like a gay guy. He did not sound like trans. You know how they try to fake their voice to be a female? Like, you know how these trans women are. Well, if you ever lived in a little city, you'll know. But yeah, when they talk, they usually try to like make themselves sound like a girl, like all the time. They usually don't ever dress masculinely, not even for court, by the way. It's kind of crazy. I've seen some things. So, like, isn't it kind of strange how he pulls up deep monotone voice? Like, bro, I'm just like, this is supposed to be our trans furry. But oh, I mean, hey, you never know though. Hey, man, look, you never know. People, I mean, they come in all shapes, sizes, and all that good stuff. You never know who does what. Some people don't even look like they do certain stuff. So, I mean, I give it to you. I'll give you that argument. It's just that, you know, this guy was just set up to be this trans furry guy, and they're in a homosexual relationship. But he come in here, bro, sounding like his. No, never mind. Never mind.
That Charlie Kirk spews regarding trans people. We were constantly reminded that there was going to be footage also of Tyler Robinson taking that shot, that it had simply not been presented to the public yet because it wouldn't have been appropriate at that early phase. We just had to wait, be patient. Erica herself told us back in November or December that she had seen the evidence and she was convinced it was Tyler Robinson by the time she sat down for that interview with Barry Weiss. Her mind was made up. That's the guy. No foreign involvement, no involvement of others.
Julie, shut your dumb ass up, young lady. Is like, first off, I didn't say that they were the same. I said that he is a trans furry, aka he claims to be trans and he claims to participate in that furry stuff. I mean, I'm not sure why you want to crash out about that. I'm like, what? Did I offend your trans furry ass? All right, then we'll go somewhere else then. It's empty channel for you.
Just need to see anything. Now, we were also told that Tyler's fingerprints and his DNA were found on the gun. And that was presented rather exclusively. They never wanted to mention any other prints, just case closed. This is our guy. We're overwhelmed. Okay, now what was our narrative here on the show? Because after months and countless hours of working on this case, chasing down every plausible lead, I maintained that Tyler Robinson's parents did not turn him in. Okay, that was a mainstreamed lie. I said rather he was peer pressured to come in by Mike Mitchell, the former undercover detective with the police force and also a family friend of the Robinsons, because he was Tyler Robinson's Boy Scout leader growing up. I maintained that Mike Mitchell actually was the one who was told that they were going to bring in Tyler Robinson. And he then went to Tyler Robinson's parents and said, look, you can do this the easy way or you can do this the hard way. No matter what, they're going to bring you in. So you're going to have a circumstance where they're going to bust in the door. Your parents could get hurt. You could get hurt in that process, or you can willfully come in. And he agreed to willfully go in, not confessing to a crime, but not wanting them to burst into his home and potentially harm him or his parents because he wasn't suicidal. I also expressed to you that Tyler Robinson was not political, crucial, and that he came from a family of Trumpers. I want to be clear, but I have never denied that the gun found was indeed Tyler Robinson's gun, but rather I have asserted that the gun was not fired on that day and was not used to kill Charlie Kirk. Particularly, we stressed on this show that he had simply inherited the gun as a family heirloom because he is the firstborn son, but that Tyler himself was actually more of a fisherman. His brothers were the hunters. I also have suggested heavily from the beginning that Lance Twiggs is a federal asset who gathered Tyler's belongings to pin the crime on him. A very easy feat because he was his roommate and his boyfriend. And I suspect that Lance himself is heavily blackmailed because he was into.
And let's be real, one of her main arguments is that, well, since since Lance had access to Tyler's laptop and all that good stuff, that means that he can actually go on Discord and start sending himself messages and pretending to be Tyler Robinson. That's the problem of him being his roommate, bring with them sharing the space. So maybe they even shared a laptop together. And all he got to do to create his own messages would just be to go on his laptop and go into iMessages, if it's an Apple, go into his Discord and just text himself whatever. Like literally invent a complete conversation. It could have happened, but trust me, I'm not there. I'm not there with it, but I see where she's going.
Some dark web stuff. I also noted the rather strange predicament that every single piece of evidence that the influencers are pushing relies on Lance Twiggs, who himself probably should be considered a person that might be guilty of participating in the events on that day, who for some reason was immediately granted immunity by the feds and was not allowed to even be cross-examined at this stage for this hearing. Despite arguments made that his testament would amount to hearsay, they allowed it to fly at this phase of, this is preliminary, we're just going to see if we go on. Now, regarding what took place on that day, we suggested that the feds intentionally flooded the zone with multiple decoys. Different young men, all brunette, all wearing similar outfits. We termed these our maroon boys, right? Decoys. Photos of 3 of them in a row right here. I said, why were so many men dressed like Tyler Robinson on this day? We showed you footage of many more of these men wandering, all of who fit the description of what we're about to see. And our biggest claim that we probably made on the show was that Tyler Robinson did not step foot onto campus on that day. At least that is what he told his family. That he was around campus, but not physically on campus himself. So in short, it should have been remarkably easy for people to debunk us, right? On this, very easy, where I was sitting there actually expecting, open and willing to have to concede at least 1 point for my investigation. I mean, I worked really hard to be perfectly accurate, but I was like, maybe he lied to his parents and he was actually driving on campus that day. All they needed to present to make me look foolish was one clear photo of Tyler Robinson on campus. What we got instead was footage of unidentifiable brunette males walking up and down the Losey Center steps at various points throughout the day. What was presented in court was a compilation video, which I would like to note was Exhibit 12.4 in court. Exhibit 12.4, that's going to become relevant later when we talk about the influencers who have sold their souls to the devil. 12.4 was a compilation of blurry male or males, plural, going up and down stairs. And people said, that's Tyler Robinson. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at this video of the males in 12.4 moving throughout the day.
I ain't gonna lie. Most of the evidence that the prosecution have is all assumptions, damn near. Like, we assume that this is Tyler Robinson in this video. We assume that he was the one to shoot that gun. We're all assuming that we have him on camera. We assume that's Tyler Robinson driving the car. Like, nothing is concrete. Nothing is caught in 4K. Which, I mean, bro, out of all these damn cameras we ain't got this man in 4K not one time. 1080p at least. 720. Like, come on. At least that.
Going up and down the steps. Here we go. And we're speeding this up, I think, right? Or we cut it short. This is the undeniable evidence that it's Tyler Robinson. And by the way, if you're feeling overwhelmed, please sit down and have a glass of water. We don't want anybody passing away looking at this. Undeniable. They're like, this is Tyler Robinson. This is just like attempt at hypnosis. You're getting very sleepy. That's Tyler Robinson. That's Tyler Robinson. That's him. That's him. And by the way, I want to be clear. I can't meaningfully deny that could be Tyler Robinson. It could also be Lance Twiggs. It could be Ethan Hawke, Tom Holland, Timothy Chalamet in preparation for the final installment of Dune. Could be any of that. I couldn't reasonably deny that it's any of those young men or any one or number of the decoy boys on campus that day who I speculated all looked to me like they belonged in a military unit. Speaking of which, I think I forgot to mention to you guys that on the top floor of the Losey Center, of all things, it's UVU's military affiliated student hub, known as their MASH Center. It's literally a dedicated student center for student veterans and their families. So that's it.
Guys, you got to remember what the court's got to prove. They got to prove without a reasonable doubt, right? And sadly, what the defense is arguing is that, his confession isn't enough because you guys can't link him to the gun, and he could have confessed it under a distress situation. So they can say confess during distress, and I mean, there he goes, the confession. Now we got to sit there with the video, with the fingerprints on the gun, and hopefully him on video, and all pretty much tie that into without a shadow of a doubt, or without reasonable doubt. And if we can't get that, then yeah, this kid might walk. But I doubt it.
That's what we saw. We saw brunette males, maybe brunette males. I mean, could be a dirty blonde. I'm not ruling any A-listers out of being involved on this day. Actually, I'm just not convinced. Now, Lance, the star possible Fed witness, basically says it looks like Tyler in terms of his clothes. Like I recognize.
Yeah, and here's the problem. It's like I said, we got to do this without a shadow of a doubt. So we got Lance Twiggs over here going like, not sure if that's him, but it looks like him. Well, I mean, like, bro, if you can't even pick him out in the video with surety and like nobody else can, I mean, then we can't prove that this is Tyler Robinson on camera. And we need y'all to do that.
Some of these clothes, he liked to wear jeans. I kid you not. That was his testimony. Take a listen.
Do you recognize the person in these images?
I wouldn't say it with 100% certainty just because of camera quality, but that looks like him in terms of the shoes he's wearing, the sunglasses. I don't think I'd specifically seen him wearing that hat, but he was usually wearing a hat, and then jeans. So it definitely, especially the bottom, the last two, definitely do look like him. They do look like Tyler Robinson.
Oh, now it's 100%. Okay.
Well, I say it's open and shut. He made it very clear that Tyler wears jeans, that he wears those shoes worn by, we should probably look up how many millions of people wear those shoes. I mean, I think I had 20 pairs of those shoes throughout my lifetime. But he doesn't recognize the hat, not one of his hats, but he does like to wear jeans. And what are those Chucks he's wearing? Like, there we go. That rules it out. Really convincing. So I'm thinking, let's move beyond that. Okay. Blurry video compilation 12.4. Surely they're going to be able to show us Tyler's car on campus, because what would be the point of a parking lot surveillance system that doesn't capture the license plates on cars? That would just be foolish and a waste of our time. Why would you even have an entire surveillance system installed on campus that can't identify any faces or any cars at all? So the question is, did we get a clear photo? I was like, maybe he was actually driving around camp. No, we got more blurry images of what appears to be, judging by the car's exhaust pipes, a totally different Dodge Challenger from the one that Tyler Robinson was driving, okay? Here is what was shown. This is a car, this is his Dodge Challenger, and I want you to pay attention to those exhaust pipes at the bottom. We're going to zoom in there, okay? You are noticing that is a dual exhaust pipe. You see two.
Both sides.
Right? These are your eyes. I know the final instruction is don't believe your own eyes, but I'm asking you to believe your own eyes here.
Exhaust, by the way, that's why.
Well, Robinson's car, here's a still of the car, which is clearer, which was towed out of his driveway, features not a dual exhaust system, but it's singular. Okay, that's a major discrepancy that people are rightfully pointing out, amongst other things.
Oh, that boy Tyler was tearing up the roads. I ain't gonna lie to you. That boy had a scat pack. No, I'm sorry. Let's get back to it.
I got tons of emails from car people giving me specifics about why you basically, when you order the car, you can order different things. We don't need to get into the nitty gritty. Just believe.
I mean, bro, them chargers are so customizable and you can add so much stuff to it. That's why a lot of people like those cars, but they're terrible in the winter. Terrible. If you buy a Charger, make sure you get yourself a winter car. You're going to screw yourself in the winter. You don't understand how much Chargers I see crash in the wintertime.
Your own eyes on the car front. Now, if you're thinking, Candace, are you suggesting that someone else could have, rented a Dodge Challenger and been driving around a gray Dodge Challenger just so they could get images and say that it was Tyler Robinson's car? Well, actually, you don't need me to suggest it. Actually, a witness confirmed that they saw someone else driving a gray Challenger, particularly a bald guy driving the Challenger late at 12:47 a.m. There was that Nest video that captured him returning to campus or at 12:47 a.m. around campus. The woman who captured that footage testified to police that she saw a bald man accompanied by 3 other people in the car. Take a listen.
Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Ring camera that you obtained, and you interviewed a woman named Ms. Noble. Is that right? to get that ring camera that we watched with the car on the outside?
We interviewed her to verify the authenticity of the video, yes.
And were you involved in that interview?
With Miss Noble, yes.
And do you recall what they told you about what they remember seeing in and around that car that night?
I don't recall. I just know we were there to verify the video. I didn't conduct an interview with Miss Noble at that time.
And do you remember that the Nobles told you that the driver of the vehicle was bald?
Wait, what? Hold on. So the driver of Tyler Robinson's vehicle was bald? But Tyler, I mean, I'm pretty sure he got a full head of hair. So what do you mean? Well, I mean, what in God's name do you mean that the driver of Tyler Robinson's car was bald? I mean, bro, Tyler Robinson's not bald. Or maybe the lady miss seen it. Maybe Tyler Robinson was like moving and grooving so fast in that Charger that it looked like he was bald. So you never know. But I mean, that doesn't help the case that's built against Tyler. Remember, it's supposed to be without a shadow of a doubt, without reasonable doubt. Y'all can't even conclude that he's on video. Y'all can't even conclude that he shot the gun, or that the bullet is conclusive to that gun, or the bullet's matching up to the shot. Like, all of this is within a doubt. So where's the case here?
I do remember that being in the report, yes.
And
like
you didn't mention that today when you were talking about that ring camera, did you?
I did not.
And did they also tell you there were 3 other people in the car?
Yes, I believe they thought that was the case.
Forgot to mention when we showed you this evidence of Tyler Robinson's car that the person who captured it said that they saw a bald man and 3 other people. By the way, paging Blake Neff, he did this weird.
So the person who's seen Tyler Robinson's car, and this is the only person I believe that they have a witness of seeing his car, and she said that she's seen a bald guy in it. Well, maybe she's seen the wrong car. She thought it was Tyler Robinson's car. And then here's the thing, like, bro, even if there's confusion with that only helps Tyler Robinson. Like, that doesn't help the whole, oh, well, this was his car without a shadow of a doubt. No, there's a whole lot of doubt.
X Live that we're going to talk about tomorrow, where his memory gets really fuzzy that evening. Apparently, a few of the people at Turning Point USA, despite Charlie dying, went out later that night and don't necessarily recall what they were doing. I think we got to try to help them figure it out. Okay. Anyway, we told you early on that it is highly unlikely, despite what looks to us to be like Fed drafted text messages, that Tyler returned to campus to, as his text messages say, watch the K-9 officers to babysit his rifle, because we broke the story that Tyler was eating a steak down in Panguitch. He concluded and paid at 9:47 p.m. There's a literal receipt for that because, as we said, he paid with his debit card. So we can timestamp him 3 hours away at 9:47 p.m. when he's apparently texting Lance. Well, I mean, it's his 3 hour ride. So when Lance says that he gets his phone and he's getting an automated message, and they start talking, and Tyler, he says the first message came in at 11 p.m. Well, 11 p.m., I can tell you right now that drop everything and look under your keyboard at 11 p.m. He says that's an automated message. And then him and Tyler begin texting. And he's like, oh, I'm babysitting things out here in Orem. I'm waiting to go back and get my, like, how's that possible? If at nearly 10 p.m. he's leaving Panguitch. He couldn't have been babysitting the campus. This is the problem. The messages are problematic, and that's why they're not timestamped. He could not have been doing what he said he was doing, texting Lance after 11 p.m. Or he decided not to mention that he got pulled over by.
Yeah, but it's safe to assume that the investigators have timestamps. They're not looking at hopefully they're not looking at the same shit we're looking at. If they are, then I mean we got a huge problem. Like I said, it's like we're looking for a shadow without a shadow of a doubt. Like, but it doesn't look like we're getting that with the current evidence. But like I said, you never know what they're going to introduce next.
Police officer around 12:30, and he was texting him in earnest. None of the text messages make sense, and we're going to need timestamps. By the way, just a little fun ad that the messages were apparently extracted by a company based in Tel Aviv. Israel is taking care of the Lance messages, guys. Trust the science. Let's pull these up, by the way. Let's pull these messages up, okay? 11 p.m. Allegedly automated. Nobody knows why he sent an automated message. Drop what you're doing and look under my keyboard, he says. Lance, what? You're joking, right? F, I tried to delete that, Tyler comes back with. I am still okay, my love, but I am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. It's very Gone with the Wind. I love that. I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I got to grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I'm sorry to involve you. Oh, gosh, I know. He shouldn't have said old age because the Fed narrative is that he was suicidal. It's a bad thing to say that. You weren't the one who did this, right? I am. I'm sorry. I thought they caught the person. No, they grabbed some crazy old dude. They interrogated someone in similar clothing. I planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Like, I'd like some timestamps here. I'd like to make it work with Tyler going to get a steak in Panguitch, driving 3 hours to Panguitch, and then turning around and coming back. Just 6 hours of driving and eating is not coming across in these messages. And then we have here, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate just can't be negotiated out. If I'm able to grab my rifle unseen, this feels to me like a person who is not native to speaking English, American English, is translating. If I'm able to grab my rifle unseen is not what we say. That's just not how we speak. You can say it, but it's not how we would say it. I will have left no evidence, going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on.
I mean, let's be real. Like, smart kids really don't talk, like normal people. Let's just be honest. They usually flex the vocabulary and grammar. Sorry.
Haven't seen anything in the news about them finding it. I will update you by midnight. Here is what I would like to do. It is very important for us to establish, because he is speaking about the canines. And I think I can, by the way, I can back channel because I talked about the canines on the show and I can go back to that source. But if you have information related to when the canines were brought on to the scene, please email us, tips@CandaceOwens.com. That will allow us to get a timestamp in there, because he says he's observing the canines going back and forth. And this could be exculpatory evidence. The Panguitch steak, and I think my gut has been right from the beginning, our gut, everyone's gut, that these messages feel a little fed sloppy Joe.
No, Jet, that's completely fair to say. He's like, man, he's 22 years old, not a criminal mastermind. But I mean, they did say he was a pretty smart kid, though. Like, what, 160 IQ or something like that? So he ain't no dumbass. He's one of the gifted kids, so you never know. I mean, he could have been a little evil genius.
Tips@CandaceOwens.com or tips@CandaceOwens.com if you know.
Or he could be getting set up. I mean, shoot, I'm waiting for the verdict.
What time the officers had the canines there on the scene. Anyway, noticeably missing was any of that shock testimony regarding Tyler's parents' statements turning their son in. Again, we got to get an update from Bill Ackman on the mill. That's a cool mill. It's a lot of money. To the contrary, there was plenty of testimony regarding how Lance Twiggs's prints were on everything: the towel, the gun, the Dremel that was used to carve out the messages on the cartridges. Lance claims, you want to know what his alibi is for that day when Charlie was shot or had an exploding mic? Lance claims that he slept in until 1 p.m. How convenient. Charlie gets hit at 12:23 and Lance actually slept 37 minutes beyond that on September 10th. So convenient. And then he woke up. Here are some more devastating points of this hearing, okay? Lance confirmed my report that Tyler was not political. If Lance is to be believed, then their entire leftist rage motive about LGBTQ rights virtually just disappeared, okay? Take a listen.
Did you and he ever talk about politics?
He did more than me. I don't really keep up with politics very much. He'd usually talk about stuff he heard on the radio on his drive to work in like their work car, since it sounds like their whole crew went in the same car most of the time. But I wouldn't say super consistently because it wasn't a topic I really contributed much on.
What about Charlie Kirk? Did you ever talk about Charlie Kirk?
I personally had never heard him talk about Charlie Kirk before specifically.
Okay. How about
Damn. I mean, it is a bit strange, for somebody that this guy was, trying to or wanting to kill. You would think he'd talk about him a whole lot. Usually people that you hate or love, you do have a tendency to talk about them a lot.
political issues? So did you ever talk about gender identity issues and LGBTQ rights?
No, not really. Usually if he did talk about politics stuff, it was relating to Trump or current policies being issued or voted on, I think. But yeah.
Oh, I think we reported that there was a family filled with Trump supporters, and you're telling me just he would maybe hear something on radio and talk about a policy issue. Didn't seem to stress that he hated Trump there. You never heard him speak about LGBTQ issues. Are you telling me that people were trying to essentially launch a civil war between the left and the right, and the very people who claim to be fighting that sort of stuff were actually trying to instigate it? Trying to instigate that left versus right, gay versus straight. This was being initiated by the right because they just couldn't wait to hear anything beyond what the Fed was serving. But there was even more explosive testimony, believe it or not, and it got really scientific. And it came from the ATF on the final day. This is actually my view of the reason that the influencers went positively insane and suddenly pretended that they were made privy to some 4K HD video footage of Tyler Robinson taking the shot on the roof. They, of course, were lying through their teeth. We're going to get to that later. But I believe that the reason they did it, the reason why they went insane, was to overcome the testimony of Caitlin Oliver, okay? Caitlin Oliver was the ATF's forensic biologist, and she gave a devastating testimony it was devastating to the prosecution. And these are the major points from that testimony, okay? First, she explicitly admitted that the media's assertion that Tyler Robinson's DNA was found on the gun was, and I quote, a scientifically indefensible statement. Take a listen.
From a scientific standpoint, you couldn't read the paragraph that sets out the likelihood ratio in your report, whatever the number, and then blast a headline in the media, Mr. Robinson's DNA is found on this item. That's a source attribution, is it not?
Correct, yes.
And that would not be scientifically defensible, would it?
Correct.
Tyler Robinson's lawyer then goes through great pains to show that the media and the influencers took what was essentially scientific jargon and they lied. And I'm going to explain that to you. So I want you to lock in, okay? You may have heard them over and over again stipulating that Tyler Robinson was a major contributor to the DNA sample, right? So if you're uninitiated and you hear that, it sounds like it means Tyler Robinson's DNA was all over the gun. He's a major contributor to the DNA sample. But it actually does not mean that at all. And I want you to take a listen to what she says, and then I'm going to break it down for you further so that you can understand what they did here.
And you can't tell us anything about when the DNA was deposited on the trigger guard or the trigger, correct?
Correct.
You can't tell us anything about whether, when you say it's at least 4, it could be 5, 6, or 7 people with DNA on that trigger or trigger guard, correct?
Correct, which is why we have the major contributor that is suitable for comparison, and the minor contributor is not suitable for comparison due to that complexity.
And again, major, minor just has to do with the levels of DNA you were seeing. It has nothing to do with someone being engaged in activity that is major.
So pretty much like the major and the minor is pretty much them saying, well, how much of that DNA or whose DNA is on there in a higher concentration? Because once you put your DNA on something, it don't stay there forever. It does take, people do say it takes years, but it degenerates. So AKA like the most current DNA or the most current fingerprints on an object is going to be the ones that's most strongly resembled. And others will be on there, but they'll be decayed. And what the problem is that Tyler Robinson's DNA is the most decayed DNA on that rifle. That's the problem.
minor just has to do with the levels of DNA you were seeing. It has nothing to do with someone.
Yeah, it's the levels of DNA that's seen. So major levels of DNA shows that, all right, well, this person touched it more or sooner than the person who has a minor trace or less concentration of their DNA on the object.
When being engaged in activity that is major in relation to the minor contributor.
Yes, so the major contributor is the majority of the DNA contributed to that sample.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to break that down further and why this is really big, and we're building on something else that she's going to say that is explosive.
Remember, that was an ATF forensic biologist that said that, who ran the DNA samples on the gun. And and the reason why she had to explain major and minor DNA traces is because she got to explain the fact that, the most concentrated DNA on there isn't Tyler Robinson's. It's the most degraded DNA on that gun. AKA, it looked like Tyler Robinson wasn't the last person to touch that gun. And remember, this gun was supposed to be picked up after the shooting.
So the idea of what she's explaining is that, this is my mug. I drink out of this mug every day. So I definitively would have the most DNA fingerprints all over this mug. Mm-hmm. But occasionally, Ashley, my producer, will go fill up the mug. So let's say Ashley, when she fills up the mug, I'm all on the handle. Maybe Ashley just touches her 2 fingers here when she fills up the water. Okay. She is saying that these are mixed samples. So let's say they just took a sample right here of where Ashley happens to have touched it, but it still also has my fingerprint on it. Ashley could be described as a major contributor to the DNA sample, despite the fact that this is my mug and the majority of this mug has my DNA on it. Ashley could be described because they just carved out that one portion, which happens to have Ashley's DNA on it. So they intentionally misconstrued the intention of the ATF report when they were relying on a sample in which Tyler Robinson was the major contributor of that particular mixed sample. And he also went through great lengths to explain to people why they don't use, since 1996, they actually don't rely on mixed samples for that very reason, because it confuses matters. They try to isolate samples. She then confirms our repeat report, as you just heard her, that there was a minimum of 5 sets of DNA on some of these mixed samples. 4 sets of DNA, could be more people that actually were also found on the gun, but prints which were found on the gun, which of course included Lance Twiggs. It also included Matt Robinson, Tyler's father. I'm going to guess that it also included his brothers. And of those multiple sets, and this is what is crucial and is explosive, and everyone should have reported on this. She reported that Tyler Robinson's DNA sample was the most degraded. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Tyler Robinson, despite all of these prints on the gun, Tyler Robinson's prints were the most degraded, or his DNA was the most degraded. And I'm going to explain that in a second. Take a listen to her say that.
The 1.3 sample is described as swabs of trigger and trigger guard, right?
Correct.
You didn't do the swabs, but am I correct that you have no way of knowing which part was from the trigger and which part was from the trigger guard?
Correct. So they were swabbed together. So I wouldn't be able to say where the DNA came from.
And that's one of the samples that was degraded, correct?
There were signs of degradation present in that sample, yes.
And you said with regard to that sample, that was a sample consistent with at least 4 contributors.
Damn.
Right?
Correct.
And did what you term the major profile have the largest amount of degradation in that sample?
There was, yes.
Exhibit 1.3, do you know where that swab was taken from?
I'd have to refer back to page 2.
Can we refer back to page 2, please, Kimberly? Thank you.
1.3 is the swabs of the trigger and trigger guard of the rifle.
All right, going back to page 5. And we've had some talk, some testimony from you and some questions for you about the likelihood ratios. What was your conclusion as to the likelihood ratio that you analyzed in this question in calculation number 3?
I don't think we need this.
The DNA profile was at least one.
Okay. So you heard her say that his was the most degraded of the firearms. And she's talking about the trigger guard and the trigger. She's not sure where they got the sample from. And that's a huge difference because they kept saying that his DNA was on